Welcome to my first video of me trying to make some compost in my backyard. I'm trying to make the Su Bioreactor, the compost from that. It's meant to be amazing stuff. It's meant to be fungal dominant, which is what we need apparently. You don't have to turn it, but you do have to water it, which is a bit of a pain. But anyway, this is meant to produce top quality stuff, and I'm hoping it's going to really get my trees going, my tree seedlings going, and I might even try it at my father-in-law's places on his pastures to see if it can kickstart some of the soil biology there. So this is my attempt. It's very rough and ready. It's just using what I've got in my backyard, which is leaves, about 40%. It's got some hay in there, some old hay bales, another about 40%. And then the rest is manure, so maybe 20% manure. That's just cow manure, which I've sort of wetted and put in there. Tried to mix it all up nicely, so I've layered it as I've been filling it, filled it right to the top. And everything has to be submerged really well, submerged completely in water before. So that's why I've got this nice big bin of water. And that's important. It took me about 2 hours to make, so not too bad. It took a lot longer probably to get the materials together. But I just use whatever I've got. David Johnson, who's the man behind the Su Bioreactor, plus his wife as well. They did it together. They kind of use anything. They can use wood chippings, they can use leaves, you can use grass, anything you've got. It has to be dry. Now it should be chopped up more than mine. He uses like some proper shredder thing, but I've just put it in like that. So probably it won't break down as quickly. But that's that. So this is my attempt. I've just used stuff that's lying around, so I didn't want to buy pipes. You're meant to put pipes in the top, and the idea with how I've used bamboo is to create sort of holes for the air to go down. So those bamboos will actually be removed after a few days, and that will allow the air to go and to keep this thing aerobic. It doesn't want to go anaerobic. That's really important. So that's why I've used shade cloth around the outside, so that the air can go through. And the other thing that's really important apparently is that it's got to be at least 70% moisture. So I've got to water this thing every day, probably about 5 to 10 litres to keep it moist. I'm not going to measure the moisture, but anyway, I'll just make sure that it's moist, which helps the whole thing to break down nice and quickly. And what happens is it goes through thermophilic phase, so this whole thing gets really hot, like you can barely touch it when it's hot. That will probably take a week or two to go down to a sort of warm normal temperature. At that point I'm going to add some worms, and that really breaks down the manure much quicker, and I think it adds the own sort of wormy goodness in there as well. So that's the plan. That's how I've made it, and that's what I'm going to use it for.